Libra, my dear seeker of truth, something serious is happening inside your home and the universe is asking you to face it now. This is not metaphor. This is not theory. It's a spiritual reality vibrating through your very walls. If you were guided to this video today, know this: it is not an accident. Your soul, your guides, the divine orchestration of the stars, something led you here because you're meant to receive a sacred message. And not just any message, but a warning, a preparation, and ultimately, a blessing wrapped in revelation. Let me ask you this: have you been feeling restless lately in your own space? Is there tension in your house that you can't explain? Has someone close to you begun to feel off? These are not coincidences. They're spiritual tremors. This reading is a doorway into something deeper, a shift that's already in motion inside your domestic world. And the reason it feels so personal is because it is. Today's reading was unlike anything I've seen in a long time. Tower, Death, Ten of Swords. One after another. These cards don't whisper. They don't suggest. They declare. And what they're declaring for you, Libra, is that something in your closest environment, your home, your emotional shelter, or someone within is about to be exposed, removed, or transformed beyond recognition. And yes, that sounds intense. Because it is. But I want you to understand something critical: this is not punishment. This is purification. This is divine interference. The peace you've been trying to keep by avoiding confrontation, it's no longer sustainable. The harmony you've been protecting at the cost of your own intuition, it's being challenged by the very force that protects your destiny. Because while you've been holding things together on the outside, something on the inside has been cracking. And the truth is ready to surface. Libra, you are a sign of balance, but sometimes balance is disrupted so that truth can emerge. Sometimes destruction is the only way to bring forth healing. And this, right now, is one of those sacred moments. Stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, we're going to explore what this death energy truly means for you, not just metaphorically, but energetically, emotionally, spiritually, and yes, even physically. We're going to look at the transformation that is being activated inside your house, inside your family dynamics, inside your patterns of trust. This is not just a tarot reading. This is a moment of awakening. Now, I want you to do something. If what I've said so far resonates deep inside you, if your breath slowed or your heart skipped at any moment, I want you to pause and type these words into the comments: I claim this transformation. I choose truth. That phrase isn't just for engagement. It's an energetic agreement. A way of saying yes to the guidance that's coming through. And let me take this moment to sincerely thank you, yes, you, for being here. Every like, every comment, every subscription isn't just a metric to me. It's a spiritual handshake. Your support keeps this channel alive and allows me to continue offering these messages to those who need them most. You're not watching this by mistake. You've been called. And trust me, Libra, you're going to want to stay with me until the end of this video. Because what the universe is revealing to you next is nothing short of divine intervention. Now tell me, beautiful Libra soul, what was it that brought you here, today, of all days? Most of us assume that home is the one place where we can fully exhale. where we can let our guard down and find refuge from a world that too often moves too fast or speaks too harshly. But sometimes, what begins as a sanctuary becomes the very space where truth is most deeply buried because we're afraid of what might happen if we allow ourselves to see what's actually there. Libra, when the Tower, Death, and the Ten of Swords show up together in your reading and they fall not in a distant sector but directly over the area of home and safety, the message is not gentle. It's not subtle. It is urgent, disruptive, and unfiltered. Something foundational is shaking beneath your feet, and it's tied to people or energy within your inner world, family, roommates, a partner, or even your own unacknowledged grief. The Tower doesn't simply mean change. It means dismantling, especially of lies we've told ourselves to maintain the illusion of harmony. And as a Libra, your devotion to peace, balance, and mutual respect can sometimes become a double-edged sword. You value fairness, but that often leads you to carry the emotional weight others were never meant to offload on you. You forgive too quickly, or overlook the signs because the thought of confrontation feels unbearable. But the cards say, no more. What's falling apart now is not a punishment. It is a clearing. A necessary release of something that has quietly expired. That may be a connection, a dynamic, a role you've been playing, or even a belief you've held about someone who lives under your roof or who has once lived inside your heart. And this is where the Death card offers its most misunderstood lesson. It does not symbolize literal death. It symbolizes symbolic death, the kind that ends a cycle that has served its time. Death reminds us that in order to evolve, something has to go. Not because it was evil or wrong, but because it cannot go with you where you're meant to go next. Often in life, the real suffering isn't caused by what happens. It's caused by our resistance to what happens. We cling. We deny. We distract. We silence our intuition. But truth doesn't disappear just because we refuse to look at it. It waits. And eventually, it demands our attention. That's what this moment is for you, Libra's sacred interruption. Instead of trying to hold the pieces of a crumbling structure together, what would it feel like to let go? To surrender, not in weakness, but in wisdom? Sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is to sit in the rubble, hands empty, heart wide open, and ask, what is the truth I've been too afraid to face? There is no shame in feeling broken, confused, or even foolish for trusting someone who proved unworthy. But staying in denial only ensures that the pain continues. What liberates you is not blame, it's clarity. And clarity only comes when you stop running from what is. In difficult times, I often remind myself of a simple truth, that every time life strips something away, it's also planting the seed for something far greater. Maybe you've heard a story like this before: a woman who loses everything in her marriage, only to discover that what she thought was loss was actually the start of her liberation. Or someone who is betrayed by family, only to realize it's what pushed them into their divine assignment. These stories are not fiction. They are real. And if you allow it, you'll live one of your own. Your life is not falling apart. It's being reorganized. Don't resist the process. Trust it. And trust yourself. Now, take a breath. You're doing better than you think. And you are not alone. Sometimes, Libra, the universe does not whisper, it strikes with precision, and that's what the Justice card represents in your reading. It's not here to punish you. It's here to correct the imbalance that has been quietly distorting your peace for far too long. When justice appears after the Tower and death, it signals that the chaos you've experienced was never random. It was the preparation for restoration. The energy you poured into relationships, commitments, or promises that weren't reciprocated is finally being redirected back to you. It's the cosmic law of cause and effect unfolding not in theory, but in your daily reality. For so long, you've played the peacemaker, the bridge builder, the one who holds it all together even when no one notices the cracks beneath your hands. But peace built on denial is fragile, and harmony sustained through silence comes at a spiritual cost. The truth is that someone has not treated you with the fairness you deserve. Perhaps they've taken advantage of your empathy, promised support they never intended to offer, or mirrored your kindness only to manipulate it. Whatever the story, justice now steps forward not to destroy, but to reveal. And revelation, while painful, is liberation in disguise. This is where your intuition comes in. You felt this imbalance long before it became visible. You sensed that something wasn't quite right. Maybe it was the way conversations shifted, how someone's tone changed, or how your energy felt drained every time you gave a little more. The mind can be fooled by words, but the body never lies. The discomfort you felt was the early signal of divine recalibration. It's as if the universe was saying, "You've carried enough. Now it's time for truth to carry its share." Justice asks you not to seek revenge or resentment but to stand in alignment with truth. The scales are balancing because you've chosen growth over comfort. You may be tempted to hold on to give one more chance, to find another explanation, but this card reminds you that compassion must include yourself. Fairness means not allowing others to rewrite the truth simply because you're afraid of conflict. There's dignity in walking away when your soul knows you've done your part. From the perspective of astrology, this is also a reflection of Libra's ruling planet, Venus, the planet of harmony, beauty, and self-worth, being tested under Saturn's influence. Saturn, the planet of karma and accountability, demands structure and integrity. Together, they create a moment of awakening. You cannot keep giving love where there is no honesty. The same energy that made you a nurturer now becomes the energy that makes you a protector of your own boundaries. In moments like these, it helps to remember that truth and love are never in conflict. They coexist. Love without truth becomes illusion, truth without love becomes cruelty. Justice is the sacred balance between them. And while it may feel like you're losing someone or something right now, what you're really losing is the illusion that you needed them to be whole. In self-help and energy work, we often talk about alignment when your words, actions, and emotions all flow in the same direction. Justice is that moment of alignment made visible. It may appear as confrontation, a sudden ending, or a shift in dynamics, but beneath it lies a divine kindness. You're being freed from contracts spoken or unspoken that no longer serve your evolution. Think of it as pruning a tree. You're cutting away what's overgrown so that life can return to the core. It's not an act of cruelty but of care. When truth cuts through the fog, it doesn't leave scars, it creates space for clarity, and clarity is the birthplace of peace. So take this moment as your invitation to breathe deeper. Allow yourself to acknowledge what you've known all along. The light that enters your life now is honest light. It illuminates everything, including the shadows. And in that illumination, you'll discover that justice was never about punishment. It was about love returning home to where it always belonged you. Things don't always unravel slowly, Libra. Sometimes, the shift comes like lightning sharp, unannounced, and impossible to ignore. When the Eight of Wands shows up in your reading, it speaks not of slow transitions or extended timelines but of fast-moving energy that barrels through everything that isn't anchored in truth. And that's what you're entering now, a moment where the speed of change will catch you off guard, no matter how grounded or prepared you thought you were. You may find yourself in the middle of an ordinary day when something falls into your hands, a message, a phrase overheard, a sudden confrontation that reveals everything you weren't ready to see but always sensed. It might not come with fanfare. It might be a quiet unraveling. But its impact? Tremendous. The kind that shifts how you see someone, how you trust, how you've been protecting a version of reality that was never entirely true. And even though your heart may ache, and even though your first instinct may be to hold on tighter, you'll quickly understand, this isn't meant to break you. It's meant to free you. This type of energy doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for the calendar to align with your comfort zone. It simply moves. Because the universe has seen enough. It knows when you've outgrown the silence. It knows when you've delayed action in the name of peace. And when Eight of Wands appears, it's a spiritual surge designed to catch your attention and open your eyes. This is not about punishment, it's about divine timing accelerating so your soul no longer has to carry what was never yours to hold. What happens next might be painful, yes. The exposure of hidden motives, the unveiling of someone's real character, or a betrayal that's no longer possible to ignore. But this too has purpose. Because in the clarity that follows, you stop giving your energy to the wrong stories. You stop writing yourself into someone else's illusion. And that is where healing begins, not in the absence of hurt, but in the moment you finally stop abandoning yourself. Astrologically, we often associate Eight of Wands energy with the fire signs, quick, reactive, sometimes chaotic. But for Libra, an air sign who prefers deliberation, who weighs both sides, who listens before they speak, this kind of fast movement can feel like a shock to the system. Yet it is in that exact shock that the walls fall away, and you see everything clearly for the first time. It's the sharp gust that breaks through the fog. The sacred interruption that allows truth to land. In my work with energy healing and emotional self-mastery, I've seen it time and again how the very thing someone feared would destroy them was actually the doorway to their transformation. One woman I worked with had spent years making excuses for a family member's manipulation, believing that protecting peace meant keeping quiet. But one day, something simple happened: a slip of the tongue, a missed phone call, a note meant for someone else, and the truth was undeniable. It hurt. It devastated her. But she later said it was the first time in years she felt like she could breathe in her own home. That's the kind of clarity this moment offers you, Libra. It doesn't come softly, but it comes with intention. You don't need to brace yourself for disaster. You need to stay open to the clarity that follows discomfort. Because what's being revealed now is not new, it's just no longer willing to hide. So when things start moving fast, don't fight it. Trust that if something is collapsing, it was already unstable. If someone's truth is being exposed, it's because their mask was never meant to stay on forever. Let the energy do what it needs to do. Stand still if you have to. But don't run. You are not losing your foundation, you are rediscovering your footing. And in that, Libra, you are being set free. When the dust begins to settle after the storm, Libra, it may feel unfamiliar. You're left standing in a space that used to be filled with illusions, with roles, with patterns you thought were necessary. But now, it's quiet. And in that stillness, something sacred begins to take shape. The Ace of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles in your reading mark a turning point, not just an emotional one, but a deeply practical, grounded beginning. This is where the universe shifts from shaking what wasn't real to laying bricks of what is true. New opportunities don't just fall from the sky, they arrive when you're energetically available to receive them. And you, dear Libra, are finally stepping into that availability. With the Ace of Pentacles, you are being handed a new seat, a project, a position, a financial door creaking open. It could be a job offer, a client reaching out, or even a sudden idea that aligns perfectly with your soul's calling. It's the kind of beginning that doesn't just pay the bills, it restores your sense of worth and direction. But here's the part that often gets overlooked. The Three of Pentacles reminds you, you're not building this alone. What's coming next requires collaboration, not codependency. It asks for shared effort, shared vision, and mutual respect. It's no longer about proving yourself or carrying others. It's about co-creating with those who honor the journey you've just walked through. That's why it's so important that you don't rush into rebuilding too quickly. Take your time. Choose your people carefully. This time, you're not just building a life, you're rebuilding a foundation that can hold who you truly are. And just when you think this is only about work or finances, the Two of Cups enters the conversation, soft, sincere, and full of promise. This card is your reminder that love isn't meant to confuse you or keep you guessing. The connection that's approaching re-emerges one of clarity, not chaos. It might be romantic. It might be a soulmate in the form of a friend, a business partner, or even a deeper reconnection with yourself. But what defines it is balance. Reciprocity. Seeing and being seen without distortion. For you, Libra, whose heart always longs for harmony, this is not just a desire, it's a healing. Still, growth isn't linear. That's where the Seven of Cups comes in. As your energy begins to shine brighter, you'll notice new people and new paths showing you, and not all of them will have pure intentions. Some will offer dreams wrapped in charm but hollow on the inside. That's why discernment is your shield now. Don't let urgency cloud your vision. Don't let loneliness make decisions for you. You've come too far to be tricked by pretty lies or spiritual performance. The test now is to trust your clarity, not your cravings. One thing I often remind my clients, especially after big emotional breakthroughs, is this: your vulnerability is sacred, but it is not a weakness. Protect it. Honor it. And if something feels too good to be true, pause. Ask questions. Don't fear missing out, fear betraying yourself again. To stay grounded through this, you may want to surround yourself with energy that supports you physically and emotionally. This week, the colors most aligned with your healing are soft blue for emotional release and clear communication, silver white for mental purification and spiritual boundaries, and gold for confidence, worth, and attracting opportunities that reflect your value. Wear them. Visualize them. Use them as daily anchors to remind yourself of what you're creating now, a life built not on illusions, but on integrity. This is your moment, Libra, not just to start over, but to start true. Trust what's real. Build with what lasts. And let anything that tries to confuse you fall away. You're not just walking into a new chapter. You're rewriting the story. After everything you've walked through, Libra, every truth faced, every illusion cleared, every foundation shaken, it's no surprise that you might feel raw, exposed, even exhausted. But don't confuse that tenderness with weakness. What you're feeling is the result of spiritual excavation. You've dug deep, cleared debris, and now you're standing in an open field of clarity. This is where the soul either retreats or rises. And in your case, you are being asked to rise not in anger or defense, but in inner strength. The Seven of Wands comes as a reminder that clarity must be protected. The truth you've uncovered is not for negotiation. The light you found? It's not up for debate. There may be people, perhaps even ones close to you, who don't like who you've become. Not because you've changed into someone worse, but because you've stopped accepting what's false. They might project guilt onto you. They might call you selfish, dramatic, or ungrateful. Some may even try to twist your reality so you second-guess the truth you've fought so hard to see. But none of that changes what you know. Not in your body. Not in your heart. And certainly not in your soul. Protect your perception, Libra. Not through resistance, but through rootedness. Your healing doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. And you don't have to justify your clarity to those committed to misunderstanding you. In energy healing, we often say, what's triggered by your light was already unstable in their shadow. Let them wrestle with their own discomfort. You stay in your lane of peace. Not the kind of peace that avoids conflict, but the peace that follows truth. And if you've been seeing the number 7 maybe in timestamps like 707, 1717, or in recurring signs like 777, take it as confirmation that you're exactly where you're meant to be. In numerology, 7 is the number of awakening. It is the seeker's number, the one who questions, who reflects, who goes inward to reclaim their voice. 7 doesn't beg for applause. It walks quietly, deeply, and with conviction. You're not just being asked to wake up, Libra. You're being invited to stay awake, even when others would prefer you sleepwalk back into silence. There's a story I often think about, a real one, from a Libra woman I once worked with. When her life unraveled, it did so all at once. Her marriage collapsed after discovering infidelity. Her business partner drained their shared account and disappeared. In the span of a few months, she lost what looked like everything. But instead of collapsing, she turned inward. She stopped chasing answers and started listening to her body, to stillness, to prayer. She studied Reiki quietly, not to fix anything but to rebuild her energy from the inside out. 3 months later, completely unexpected, she was contacted by a distant connection, an older client who had left her in their will. She received not just financial support, but a sense of dignity restored. When I asked her what she had learned, she said something I'll never forget. I didn't lose my life, I lost what was blocking it. That's the essence of this part of your journey, Libra. You are not meant to fight for what is slipping away. You are meant to protect what is finally true. Hold the line. When the world pushes back, it's often because you've finally stepped into alignment. You're not meant to please everyone, you're meant to honor the light that's breaking through your own soul. So stand strong, not in defense, but in devotion to what you now know. Your truth is sacred. And your path, though narrow, is blessed. Stay there. Stay awake. And above all, stay honest. Libra, if you've stayed with me until now, then you already know this was never really about the cards. It's about you. It's about your courage to see what's real, your willingness to release what no longer serves, and your quiet strength to rebuild from a place of truth, not illusion. This isn't just a reading. It's a remembering. A sacred pause in the noise of life where you get to look at yourself honestly and say, I survived the storm. And I'm still here. The death that visited your house was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to awaken you. To remind you that endings are often disguised as beginnings. And though it may not have felt like it in the moment, what fell apart was already unaligned. What left your life was never rooted in your future. The tower didn't collapse to punish you, it collapsed to set you free. Now, you're standing at the threshold of something new. A life you get to shape. A foundation you get to rebuild. Not from guilt. Not from fear. But from your own clarity. And from here on out, you don't need to ask for permission to trust yourself. You don't need to silence your intuition just to maintain someone else's comfort. You don't need to play small so others can feel big. So let me ask you, gently but honestly, what are you still holding on to that no longer reflects the person you're becoming? Whose approval are you still chasing, and is it worth the cost of your peace? What kind of life would you build if you finally stopped apologizing for needing more truth, more depth, more alignment? You've been given every tool you need. The cards didn't just show chaos, they showed opportunity. They didn't just show betrayal, they revealed what was blocking your blessings. And they didn't just show endings, they pointed toward new beginnings so powerful, so honest, that your old self wouldn't even recognize them. But here's the truth I want to leave you with: nothing changes unless you decide it does. The universe can open doors, send signs, even rearrange your entire emotional landscape, but you still have to choose to walk forward. You still have to choose to speak up. To set the boundary. To answer the call. And so, Libra, I want to leave you with this question. Are you ready to stop surviving and start creating? Not just hoping that things get better, but actively calling in the life you know you were meant for? If your answer is yes, even if it's a quiet, trembling yes, I invite you to claim that shift right now in the comments. Type, I'm not afraid of the dark. I choose the light. Let that sentence be more than a comment. Let it be your declaration to the universe, and to yourself. And if this message stirred something in your heart, if you felt seen or heard in any part of this reading, don't let it end here. Give this video a like so that the protective energy we've channeled continues moving with you. And make sure you're subscribed to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, because in the days ahead, I'll be releasing guided energy rituals, protection methods, and spiritual forecasts designed to help you stay grounded in the truth you just claimed. From the depths of my heart, thank you for allowing me to walk with you on this part of your journey. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not lost. You are being led. And whatever rises next in your life, let it rise with intention, with faith, and with full ownership of who you truly are. The sun is rising, Libra, and this time, it will shine not because someone gave you permission, but because you chose it. Now tell me in the comments, what is the one truth you're finally ready to stand in today? We're here. We're listening. And we're holding space for your transformation. Always.